afterwards as well. Okay, so, so leaders within the community provided some sort of leadership in the area of health, prevention, herbs to take, and diagnosis and, resolution of symptoms as well. And of course, as, communities became bigger, there was a need to specialize along that side too. And so some specialization occurred in that light. And with that specialization came more in-depth knowledge, more research, more findings, codifying the findings, identifying some of the ethical practices along the line, and the need for more of these specialized healers and treatments as well. Of course, that led to further specialization along different angles until where it was discovered that there was a need to separate, for ethical reasons, the act of giving medicines to patients and the act of prescribing because of, ethical conduct, to promote ethical conduct, right? And prevent inordinate incentives for random prescriptions. Now, after the separation of the physician from the pharmacist, right, pharmacy was still more of a profession that operated in silos, right? And so tradition was important. Both oral tradition and written traditions were important. And then along the line, with the development of science, pharmacy embraced science much more closely than even medical science did. Okay, so for example, pharmacy associated with the science of compounding, the science of spoilage, right? Understanding medicines can spoil faster than medicine could identify that in surgery, there was a need to keep an aseptic method. In fact, the methods that are used in medicine, healing and recovery, are a large adaptation from the methods that were adapted in by pharmacists from from what was being done in the scientific area as well. Okay, so a lot of so with embracing the scientific method also came the curiosities of establishing how medicines work. Okay, and with that knowledge, of course, came much more better, more potent medicines and the adoption of research, identifying new medicines, and the process, the ability to develop processes, standardized processes in manufacturing, leading to the industrial age of pharmacy. Of course, from the industrial age of pharmacy, which almost led to the extinction of the pharmacy profession, because essentially the compounding and the compounding aspect of the pharmacy, was ceded off to firms and large corporations, to the age where the pharmacists sat together and decided, see, the key to remaining relevant is to provide our professional service to the patient beyond the medicines we manufacture. We must be able to provide our professional input into the use of medicines at the bedside. So then evolved the face of pharmacy called hospital pharmacy, and then led to the evolution of the pharmaceutical care, leading on to the evolution of clinical pharmacy. Okay, and all of these phases, right? All of these philosophies underlying our practice have all come together as the world has become more knowledge-driven and more specific in demanding value from the profession. Okay? Now, we are in an age where there is rapid evolution of knowledge again. You know, and so pharmacy is once again faced with those decisive questions. In what way will we as pharmacists serve the next generation, be relevant in the healthcare of the next generation of humans, right? In what way will we provide service that is relevant, that is contextual, and that makes the life and the living of human beings more pleasant in this next phase that will largely be contributed to by artificial intelligence and other non-human deciding factors, right? Similar to what we've done in the past. So this is the age where, you know, those ones are becoming more important again. And so pharmacy is changing right before our very eyes. So this is just to reiterate to you that pharmacy as a profession is evolving, it's changing. It's your pharmacy, it's my pharmacy as a career, but it's also changing remarkably before us. Okay, so we need to keep our eyes peeled.
I found this on the web.
Sorry, it's part of the issues that I'm mentioning. I didn't ask the AI assistant, and it's already telling me it's finding something on the web. Okay, so we're going to get into a place where patients may probably get diagnosed in the comfort of their homes. They may be more interested in getting intimate care, right, in their own private facilities rather than coming together using pooled resources. Okay, we may be coming into a society where health resources are more decentralized than the way they currently are centralized in hospitals. So, how will pharmacy and pharmacists be relevant or provide care and services to the next generation? So, let me pause here and ask everyone here a question. I mean, you all are younger people, and of course, you're the ones who will be providing that care to the next generation of, providing that care to your generation. So I'm going to ask you now, from your own perception, from the way you acted with people, and the technologies available in your world, trends. All this do, right? You've all been to pharmacy before. You've been to a hospital pharmacy before. You've also known that medicines are manufactured in companies before. So, in your own estimate, what do you think? And I'll be glad to hear from at least 3 people. Speak up. You can type it in the comment section. What do you think will be different in how pharmacists will be delivering care next 20 to 25 years?
Midnight Tree, America.
You will not live to me. What have you seen your own weird from top on that?
Hello? Can you hear me? Did you hear my question?
The line is breaking.
Okay, but did you hear my question?
Sir, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yes,
so
I
my
can hear
question
you.
was, yes, my question was this. How do you think pharmacy will be different in the next 20 to 25 years? You are the ones who are currently interacting with those technologies. You're the ones seeing what is feasible, right? How do you think this will change how pharmacy provides or the kind of value that pharmacists provide to patients over the next 20 to 25 years?
So, pharmacy is 3D printers.
Sorry?
3D printers.
Okay. So you believe that we'll be able to provide more personalized care through 3D printers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So that's one input. Any other inputs?
Hi, sir.
Hello? What did you say?
So I feel like there will be more technological advancements in the pharmacy sector.
Yes, you're correct. But what I'm asking is, in what direction do you think that technological advancement will be? Are you saying that medicines will become more complex or less complex? Are you saying, for example, somebody just mentioned that we'll likely be 3D printing our own pills in our own homes, or for example, maybe in collective pooled centers, we'll go and 3D print specific personalized medicines for patients. So, I mean, that's an example. But in what way do you think technology will change the way we deliver service to patients? Please, I need two more responses. My class is very interactive, so I don't believe that I'm the only one learning here. So please speak.
Sir. Sir.
Yes, please go ahead. Please, can you come again? I didn't hear you.
I said that drugs or genetically can be modified to suit each individual. I mean, with advancing technology.
Awesome. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So I like the trend of thought, and I think that it makes a lot of sense to think in that way. And of course, pharmacy has evolved, and I think I wanted to make that emphasis that pharmacy has not only evolved in one on one axis, but it's evolved on, education, the philosophy of practice. Please take note of that. Pharmacy has evolved on how the education, how pharmacy is taught, right? For example, at some point, it was only via internship, right? How many of us have heard of the Unwa Boy trades learning? How many have learned about that? How many have heard about it? It's a trade practice that was made very popular by a TED Talk about the Alaba international market. Okay, now that's a symbol of what pharmacy used to be. You want to be a pharmacist, or your parents want you to be a pharmacist, so they send you to the pharmacist in town. So that happened for a while in Nigeria too. If you wanted to be a dispenser, you went to pharmacist Bailey's dispensary in Lagos Island, and you learned, yes, in Lagos Island at Apapa, and you learned how to be a dispenser. And then you were sent to one of the dispensaries in a part of Nigeria. Okay. After a while, the education became codified. So you needed to go to Yaba Tech. Okay. After a while, they said, okay, this level of education as a diploma is no longer congruent with the level of service being offered across pharmacies in Nigeria. So, of course, the philosophy also morphed. It changed. And then everybody who wanted to be a pharmacy needed to get a bachelor's of pharmacy. Okay? And so they went to, of course, the Yaba College of Pharmacy Technology was, changed to a bachelor's of pharmacy program in the University of Lagos. Of course, OAU also came up, University of Ibadan, Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, and across the board like that. Okay? And over the years, that was how it ran until the point came when, some additional philosophies started to come into place, especially in the late 80s to early 90s, where we started to talk about the need for more services to be relevant and not to just be a space filler, right, in the healthcare sector. And so as the philosophy of care was changing, the philosophy of education was also changing. Remember, we went from being interns, right, to professionals, to do education and then turn professionals. And then from that point also, education now changed again. And it was now education and an internship. At that point, the philosophy of care had changed from emphasis on just the sciences to an emphasis on science and art. Okay, so at that point, hospital pharmacy as the philosophy of practice was in place. And so the education changed as well to say every pharmacy who passes through a 4-year course in school must also get into the hospitals to do an internship for 1 year. Next again was as the philosophy of care changed again to say pharmacy must have as its bedrock pharmaceutical care as the philosophy of practice for the 20th century. Okay, so at that point, the schools of pharmacy also began to change, and then clinical pharmacy was introduced as a course. And so pharmacy education went from just a 4-year BSc course to become a 5-year professional course that led to pharmacists who had an understanding of that philosophical background of pharmaceutical care. And because clinical pharmaceutical care is a continuous practice, it also led to the inclusion of IT practices along the educational so that the students could experience some of those things that we're talking about in their education in practice as well. For example, at 300 level, at 400 level, you'll be mandated to do minimum of 3 months each, right? First in industry, and then secondly in either community pharmacy or in hospital pharmacy. And then lastly, when you graduate, you will do internship in any area of practice that you want. Now, as this progressed, right, the philosophy of care is now firmly that of pharmaceutical care. But in different countries now, right, there are several emphases of that iteration of uh, pharmaceutical care as a philosophy. For example, in Nigeria, there is the emphasis on clinical pharmacy being delivered by all pharmacists across all spaces. And the reason is because we are in a serious shortage of healthcare workers across board. Nurses, doctors. Currently in Nigeria, recently there was data that was presented in the news media that we only have 6,000 consultants across all of Nigeria. 6,000 consultants to 200 million Nigerians. And so it becomes dire that pharmacists be, contributors, valuable contributors to the healthcare practice in Nigeria. And so that is the current iteration. So we have an emphasis right now in Nigeria on different aspects of care that we believe, is suitable for Nigeria as a whole. I hope that is clear. Class, I hope that is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to take questions for 2 minutes while I take a sip of water. Just if you have any questions, please ask. Let me quickly. If you have questions, please ask.
Good morning, sir. Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
So you talked on compounding aspect of pharmacy. I really didn't get that part, sir. If you can elaborate more on that. Thank you, sir.
Compounding is the process of making medicines within making medicines within the hospital's practice. Okay, so it means that the pharmacist can prepare medicines. Those medicines that we have for what's it called? Those medicines that we have in bottles already prepared.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so they can be made by pharmacists in their pharmacy using similar ingredients and through a technique called compounding practice. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, can you all see my screen right now?
Sir, it's not clear.
Yes, sir, but it's not clear.
Hmm. Oh, this is challenging. Okay. Um, Still not better, right?
It's not clear.
Hmm. Okay, this is a bit challenging. I think I'll just send it to you as a note so that I don't waste so much of your time. Um, we'll continue in the meantime and then I'll send to you as a note. Okay, you can just jot along, but I'll make sure I send this note to you. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so please, can you mute it if not?
What?
Okay. So now let's quickly talk about the different disciplines of pharmacy, and then I'll show you some of the competencies as well. I'll talk about some of the competencies as well. So in the last 20 years, pharmacy as a profession has been, in the Gallup polls in the US of professionals, has been among the top three. And currently, for this current year, I think pharmacy is now ranked either the second. The one I have it was for the previous year, but I think for the current year, pharmacy is ranked second or so. Okay. Consistently over the last 20 years, we've been ranked either the first, the second, or the third. That's the in the order of the professionals that are most trusted by the public. Okay. And this is so because people perceive that pharmacists are honest, have ethical standards, okay, and the roles we play within the community has been consistently, uh, useful. Unlike most professions, pharmacy is science-based and rooted on scientific evidence. Right? Our education provides a foundation based on synthesis of science, that's a mix of science and, of course, art, and prepares you as a student, right, in different aspects of the profession. Pharmacy education, while very specialized, only provides the barest minimum. So, what your 6 years in pharmacy school will do is to provide you the scientific basis for why we use drugs. It will provide you training on ethics and ethical concepts. It will provide you training on how the process of medicines discovery, how to make medicines, discover new ones. It will provide all that basis to you for you to function. But you must realize that this education is not going to give you everything you need for your practice. Okay, so that's why we have the practice components where you practice under supervision as well, your internship and your IT as well, right? During all of these times, right, you work closely with pharmacists who are attending to patients so that you can learn in practice how they do it. Okay. Through this process, you will imbibe new attitudes, new cultures, right? You will become a better professional. What it means is not that you are currently that all your attitudes are upside down. No, what it means is there are set codified ways that you will be taught to interact with patients in such a way that provides you safety as an individual. Okay, you will not easily get entangled in malpractice or some of the ugly incidents that are seen, when you work closely with, strangers. Okay, so your education is going to provide you all of the bedrock for you personally to now build a professional life or a professional career on top. Okay, like I said again, this education does not provide you everything you by the time you graduate from pharmacy school, you don't know all that you should know. But you have been equipped with the foundation. You have also been equipped with how to find new knowledge. Okay, and that is the most important thing that I think that we can provide for you as budding professionals. Okay, and there are many roles that you can graduate into. Okay, now I'm going to mention 6 roles and then inform you that there are still many more, because like I said at the beginning of this lecture, where the world in itself is faced with a VUCA situation. It's volatile, there's a lot of volatility, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of chaos, because, from different angles, a lot of people are shouting that their own principles, their own philosophies, their own inventions are actually the way of the future, right? For example, just recently, Chevron was celebrating that they've installed their first hydrogen station, okay, outside of the US, while at the same time, we have new innovations around battery technologies for cars. You have new innovations around using gas. For example, in Nigeria, there's a lot of aplomb right now for gas-powered cars. Okay, so everybody is being told convert your car to CNG, right? So around the world, there's a lot of chaos. Nobody really has a final say on what everybody is going to adopt. But, in your own context, in the areas where you live, right, you must have the ability to decide that, okay, this is what most people are currently going with. The government will also sometimes decide the direction of innovation that they want to adopt. Whether it's the right one, whether it's the wrong one, within a few years, that may change. So it brings in a level of uncertainty as well. But whatever the case may be, right, our interest is that as things are evolving, right, pharmacy must also remain resilient, but also able to change. Okay. Sometimes resilience is touted like an inability to change, right? But it is not. Resilience is also means that we retain our philosophical principles, we retain our non-negotiables while, changing in some form to adapt and provide care for our communities at where they are. So it means we're able to take care to our communities the level they are currently. We don't say pharmacy, we're no longer providing, we're no longer manufacturing medicines. Now we want to focus on clinical pharmacy and pharmaceutical care alone. So we'll only be in hospitals. Okay, and so we know that manufacturing is still a very important component here in Nigeria because we're still largely a third world country. So we have issues with access to resources, access to medicines, access to healthcare, access to diagnostic facilities is still a very serious challenge. So because of that, our focus here in Nigeria is on some specific areas that we believe are our symbol of adaptation. For example, we have these following practice areas. Number one is academics or education and research. Number two, administrative pharmacy practice. Number three, community or retail pharmacy practice. Number four is hospital pharmacy practice. Number five is industrial pharmacy practice. Number six is specialty pharmacy services. And most of our specialty pharmacy services are, domiciled within hospitals as well. Okay. Now, these different practice areas do not entirely differ in what the pharmacists do, right? But in how they do what they do. Sorry, one area that's missing in this list is public health pharmacy, right? But usually we classify it under specialty pharmacy services because of even within public health pharmacy practice, you have vaccine services, you have those that specialize in water sanitation and hygiene, you have those who specialize in nutrition and different aspects, right? So pharmacy is resilient, pharmacy can change, pharmacy is able to adapt, right, to circumstances as they change. Now, under industrial pharmacy practice, right, you'll find that there's also been a lot of changes in the last few years. Take, for example, under working with regulatory agencies, we've been able to come to a point where several international pharma brands, some of for example, some of the Johnson & Johnson brands are now assembled in Nigeria, GSK as well. Some of their line items that are distributed across West Africa are now assembled in Nigeria as well, under Feedsin's, contract manufacturing, pharmacies are also able to represent international farmers in their distribution chain across West Africa. So there's a lot that we're adapting to or adopting as well. And that's been very useful for us as a country. Okay, so these are the practice areas. There are a lot of similarities. Like I mentioned, underlying is pharmaceutical care, underlying philosophy is pharmaceutical care, right? Competencies and skills are also, a bit similar across. For example, under pharmaceutical public health, competencies like health promotion. So now, these list of competencies are what you as a pharmacist will graduate with, Okay? As a pharmacist, you graduate with all these competencies, but you are not going to use them in equal measure in your workplace. Okay, so for example, you will learn health promotion. You'll know how to assess primary healthcare needs and advise on health promotion, disease prevention, and control, and also how people can adopt healthy lifestyles. You will learn this through your pharmacy school experience, right? But if, for example, you are in pharmaceutical consulting, you might not use all of this, but it will serve you in your career, right? Another public health competence is medicine information, service and advice, right? Ability to counsel on safe and rational use of medicine. This is very key for hospital and community pharmacy practice. Now, there are also other competencies, right? Like pharmaceutical care competencies, the assessment of medicines, how you as a pharmacist can assess medicines, compounding of medicines, that's you preparing medicines under good manufacturing practice, schedules, dispensing, that's providing medicines directly to patients. These are some of the competencies that you learn. Medicines counseling, right? Ensuring that patients know how to store their medicines, where to keep them in order for them their medicines to not be compromised in quality. Monitoring medicines therapy, right? You learn skills that when a patient is on certain drugs, you know what tests to recommend so that you can monitor their outcomes and how well they are doing on those medicines, especially priority medicines like warfarin and digoxin, which is a very important medicine in heart failure. Okay, so those are very critical services that pharmacists provide. Also, patient consultation and diagnosis, especially in medically underserved areas. A lot of you will serve in rural areas. One of the skills that you'll bring to bear, right, is your ability to diagnose, simple conditions and prevent the healthcare system, the fragile healthcare system that we have in Nigeria, from being overwhelmed by those simple complaints that can be taken care of at the pharmacy. Then you will also be imbibed with organizational and management competencies. For example, you learn how to budget, and do reimbursements, because we have insurance plans in Nigeria. Our National Health Insurance Act mandates that every Nigerian must have a health policy, so that if they are sick, they will get health care. They will be attended to within healthcare companies, right? And so you as a pharmacist will learn how your interactions with the NHIA Act, right, and the HMOs and pharmacy benefit managers, how you work with them, the legal ways to work with them to ensure that they serve you as you serve the patient appropriately. Okay. Also, you learn about human resource management. You as a pharmacist, you have a number of sub-cadres that work under you or work with you or work above you. Okay, so you will learn the skills of managing 360, managing all around. You manage up, you manage the people at the same level with you, and then you also manage down. Okay, so you learn that in your pharmacy career. You also learn how to improve services. Okay, services will never be perfect. They need to keep improving or keep changing as we have more information, or we gather more information about our current standard operating practices. You will learn about procurement, you learn about supply chain management, how to ensure access to medicines is optimal in the communities you serve. You learn about workplace management, you learn communication skills, and you will be mandated to participate in continued professional development. You also learn about the legal and regulatory framework that ensure that you do what you do within the ambits of the law that are set up pharmacy as a practice in Nigeria. Okay, recently, just about 2 years ago, a pharmacist procured opioid medicines from Lagos and shipped it by air to Kaduna. And when she picked it up at the airport in Kaduna, she was arrested by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. And when she mentioned that she was a pharmacist, they accorded her the respect of, giving her time to respond to the queries they had about the opioid she was shipping. Now, at the final count, she wasn't able to provide the necessary documentation because she had forged some documents, right? She had been let off from the hospital where she was working, but she still had some, she used to divert some opioids into the black market, okay? And then she still wanted to service those opioid people. So she was selling to them, underhand, and then she forged the procurement order from the hospital in order to ship those drugs. And then the NDLEA requested from the hospital to say, we have in documentation that you ordered for such and such opioids. And the hospital said, no, this person is no longer in our employment, and so she was arrested. Okay, so there is a framework that makes your actions legal. There's a framework that you can ship, but you carry in person, okay, with your documentation. That because as a pharmacist, you can be in possession of those controlled medicines and you can dispense them to patients, okay? Because there are certain documentations that you also do in order to handle those medicines. Now, there also will be your interface with the regulatory bodies, okay? And those provide you the legal framework to practice as a pharmacist. If you are caught practicing without being a registered pharmacy, you will face the legal consequences. Okay, so those are some of the things surrounding, of course, and then there's a professional and ethical practice framework that you also learn about. Okay, now putting all these together, right? There's still another set of similarities. For example, I think in the early 2000s, the WHO, working with the International Pharmaceutical Federation, the FIP, right, codified something called the 7-star pharmacist. That's in whichever place you're practicing, if you display these features, these characteristics, you will be an effective, a well-rounded pharmacist. Number one is you must be Yes, sorry, I'm back. Just quickly round up, right? So pharmacists must be caregivers, they must be decision makers, right? Communicators, leaders, a manager, a lifelong learner, and a teacher. Okay, and these are important because these levels are important because when you express yourself as a 7-star pharmacist, the last pinnacle was added recently to make it an 8-star pharmacist, and that must be a researcher. And that's important because there are now people who have made it their life duty to be Confucianists, to provide wrong information to people. Okay, and we must, as pharmacists, be able to provide evidence-based reasons why they are wrong. Okay, we must be researchers because we're also looking for new ways to adapt, new ways to serve our communities. We also must be researchers because we're looking for new ways to also solve problems that are coming up. There are new problems, okay, that are coming up, and we must look for new ways to solve them. I hope we all understand. I hope we all understand.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Awesome.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Also, final similarity, we're also members of the same profession, okay? We're members of the same profession or the same association of profession, which is the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. Came into being in 1924. It's the oldest professional body in Nigeria, right? It was officially registered under Section 21 of 1922 Companies Act as the Association of Dispensers, and all pharmacists must be members of that. It also has technical groups such as the Association of Academic Pharmacists, Industrial Pharmacists, Hospital Pharmacists, and Community Pharmacists, right? There are also newer ones like the Association of Public Health Pharmacists, right? So a whole lot of, and then there are specialized groups that are called interest groups, okay, that target specific interactions. For example, there are interest groups like the Young Pharmacist Group, which will begin to interact with you when you get to 500 level, and then at 600 level, you'll be able to participate in their activities. Okay, so basically that's what I have for you today. I have some more in-depth thoughts about each of the practice areas, but I will just leave that since it's mainly emphasizes what I've talked about so far. So I'll leave that and then you can read up on it once I send this to you. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? I want to finish up by talking to you about what I see as the future trends.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Please, I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So, sir, the Doctor of Pharmacy degree only gives like a foundational knowledge of every field of pharmacy, right? Did you get that, sir?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay,
Please
I
come in.
said that the Doctor of Pharmacy degree only gives a foundational knowledge of all the fields of pharmacy, right?
Correct.
Okay, so sir, if I want to like specialize as an industrial pharmacist, that would mean that after my 6 years practice, after the Doctor of Pharmacy degree, I still have to like I still have to study for another degree to become like a full-fledged industrial pharmacist.
No,
Okay.
you don't have to study for another degree. What you will be doing is, for example, you will now, in your own self-directed career direction, right, take steps in that line. Okay? I hope
Okay.
that's clear. So,
Yes.
for example, you
Yes.
can do your internship in that place where that can position you for a career in industrial pharmacy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can serve, for example, decide that, okay, I want to have my internship at fits in manufacturing so I can learn how to manufacture medicines, or I want to do my internship in, if, for example, you want to be a marketing expert, you can decide, okay, I want to do my internship at WWCV, which is the largest distributor for healthcare health commodities in Nigeria. You can decide I want to do my internship there. And then you learn distribution, you learn supply chain, or you can go with JNC as well, right? So there are different areas that...
Yes.
Exactly. So it's not like another, but there's nothing that's stopping you from participating in the educational framework to further develop your specialization. The reason why I'm saying that is there is also, for example, a specialized course in supply chain management, and lots of the big firms like USAID and DFID require that if you're coming in to manage their supply chain and all that, that you should have some of those competencies. So demonstrating that you have that competency is both from one, your experience on the job, and secondly, your ability to have taken additional education. If you want to come into the hospital as well, you can start, your experience counts, but as you mature, you must be able to have done a postgraduate degree. It could be a professional one. For example, there's a West Africa Postgraduate College of Pharmacists, right, that trains in, so when you finish, you become a consultant pharmacist in a specific area.
Okay.
You understand? So there is opportunity for lifelong development, but it does not mean that you need to, that when you graduate as a pharmacist with PharmD, then you now go somewhere to go and learn. No, you can function anywhere you want as a pharmacist.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Awesome. So any other questions? Any other questions? Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. So I said I wanted to quickly talk about some of the future trends that I had noted, all right? And even though there are like 5 sets of them, I'll just quickly, go over them. So, okay, if you look at this, this now under academic pharmacists, right? When we're talking, when I wrote this paper, and I've been updating it regularly, right? And when I wrote this paper was about 8 years ago. It was the first time I wrote the foundation for this paper, and I update it regularly. And then we were predicting that I had worked with 3 other senior colleagues and reviewed the literature for this, and we had predicted that there would be a universalization of the PharmD curriculum. There would be a lot of open access learning, and that open access learning is a bit challenging right now because there have been a number of initiatives based on technology, but they've not yet been mainstreamed. Okay. For example, some of the challenges are costs. Okay. Some of those materials are so expensive that it's unreasonable to keep them as, minimally costly as they are currently. Oh, sorry, my screen sharing stopped. Let me go back.
No pé jáde. Every day, what is it?
Okay, so unfortunately, this is not coming back up. But under academia, we looked at faculties of pharmacy as centers of excellence in drug development, and so far 3 faculties of pharmacy around Nigeria. For example, Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Lagos; Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Ibadan; and one other faculty of pharmacy have been they've been designated as centers of excellence in drug development around the country. We're also seeing research specialization as we predicted 8 years ago. Now, in community pharmacy, the future trend we are currently predicting is that there will be enhanced services provided. For example, initially we had predicted that there would be electronic access to patient information. We also predicted that services like immunization will come to community pharmacy based on the trends we had seen at that time. So based on that, Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Lagos also decided to start providing vaccination training for pharmacists based off of that prediction. And that came in handy. So we went into partnership with, I think it's Penn State. Jesus, I don't remember the name of this university. We went into partnership with a university abroad, and we developed competencies in clinical pharmacy to start training for training trainers and training directly vaccinators. So, and over the last 3-4 years or so, I think we must have trained over 300 community pharmacists, supported by a grant from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So we've done a lot of, with some of those future trends, we've used them within our own faculty to also provide training to professionals. Under hospital pharmacy, our predictions were around personalized medicines, genetic counseling, gene therapy, and total parenteral nutrition. The only one that's currently being implemented is total parenteral nutrition. It's unfortunate we've not seen a lot of advancements in Nigeria around personalized medicine and genetic counseling. But Gene 54 was what we thought would bring that prediction to pass. But unfortunately, Gene 54 folded up last year, and so far there's been no other iteration similar to that. Also, under industrial pharmacy, our predictions of the future trends no, not King's College. It's from the US. The partnership was with US. I think it's Penn State, University of Pennsylvania, or Penn State. I don't remember. But I mean, it's something I can check and get back to you guys on. It's one of the MOUs we have in Department of Clinical Pharmacy. But I'll definitely get back to you on that so it's clarified. On future trends in industrial, we believed that we may be able to achieve self-sufficiency, and that underlined our collaboration with NAFDAC over the years, and then also our support for the 555 policy of NAFDAC which has begun to take effect, and through which we've seen a lot of medicines that are being imported. Now, NAFDAC is no longer allowing people to import those medicines. We're now saying manufacture them locally and then improve the economic prospects in Nigeria. Also, we believed we were going to see more development and research initiative that has benefited our pharmaceutical chemistry and drug development department much more than Department of Clinical Pharmacy. Also, we've seen an initiative which was outside of our influence anyway, where Dr. Associate Professor or Professor Ilumwaya in Farm and Farm Tech, right? She's won a huge grant and she's developed the first GMP lab in all of West Africa, and it's hosted at the University of Lagos, the first GMP lab in all of West Africa, and it's also the largest in our sub-region in our sub-region in Africa. Also, they've developed new medicines for and they've developed they now have a technique where they are developing medicine in medicine carriers, okay, where they have new medicines that are formulated in a way that they are held in carriers. So it's a medicine inside a medicine. It's like wrapping individual molecules of one medicine with a molecule of another medicine, so that when you deliver one agent, right, the body receives more than one agent in total. And it's been very useful. It's targeted at prevention and elimination of HIV. It's also been useful in there's a large effort right now to go to clinical trials. So it's one of the things that is very, very exciting currently in Nigeria, that we're able to develop medicines locally and we're able to take them to clinical trials. So you're in the best of times, sincerely. You've come into the university at a time when Faculty of Pharmacy is seeing a lot of innovation and development coming up. Right. There's also information and logistics integration that we believed was going to happen, and that has happened. And so, for example, the second major tech-based distribution company, was launched 2 years ago in Lagos, the New Heights Pharmaceutical Integrated Logistics Center. Was launched about 2 years ago, became fully functional last year, was launched by NAFDAC DG and a couple of politically exposed persons, just as a symbol of what can happen here in Nigeria by Nigerians from funds solely raised here in Nigeria. Of course, there's also the Colexa biosensor development, by here in Lagos as well, and they're manufacturing diagnostic devices with very technical parts here. Oh no, I said GMP, not GTVF, GMP. That's good manufacturing practice. So it's a set of it's a dynamic procedure-based manufacturing technique, right? That requires it requires manufacturing in a closed, tightly controlled environment. So you can control the humidity in the room. You can control the number of microorganisms, per square inch in the room. You can control everything, so that we are certain that medicines that are being produced do not contain any do not contain any contaminants. Okay, and those are useful in clinical trials, because you want to be able to say that every action from this medicine can only be attributed to this medicine. Okay, so it's called GMP, good manufacturing practice, or GCMP, CGMP, current good manufacturing practice. Okay, and this one was built according to USP standard, United States Pharmacopeal Standards. Okay, so it's a very huge one. I think at last count, total investment in facility there was close to $1 million, right, in just one facility. The lab is not very big, but the equipment there, everything that's going to be available to you as pharmacy students. You're going to be graduating, having passed through a GMP facility. You have all of the skills required to, WHO is pushing more manufacturers to be GMP compliant now. And so you have all the skills required to become highly paid consultants to help them, upskill. So it's a very good opportunity for you as pharmacy students. So other public health, the future trends we're seeing was more related to the area of social medicines and the Internet of Things, but we've not really seen a lot of that happen. One, there's been a lot of donor fatigue, recently, and then of course with cuts to USAID, and of course more protectionism in Europe and UK as well. DFID has been cutting back on its expenditure. The German fund as well has been cutting down on expenditure. And so we're seeing all around the kind of shrinking of the public health space. But I think that over the next few years, we may see a resurgence, based on local investment, because the government seems to want to continue to invest into upgrading public health as well. With that, I come to the end of this session. If you have any questions for me, you can ask now. You will also be having an in-course next week. I hope you've been told that you'll be having tests next week. Okay, just to mention that to you. So please ensure that I'm going to send the notes to your class rep before the end of today. So class rep, please, if I don't remember to send latest by 6 p.m., please send me a message. Send me your email so that I will send the recording and the lecture notes. Okay, I would like to send the recording and the lecture notes to you. So please notify me or send me a reminder if you don't get before that time. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and see you some other time. Bye for now.